Whitebeard, Big Mom and Kaido ruled the New World seas for decades, and the world government needed the power of the 7 warlords, the navy including the 3 admirals, to keep them in check. So just how strong are the guys that require all this might? I'll be looking into that, and because Luffy is the only character whose power we know and can use to scale the powers of other characters, they'll be using the current awakened devil fruit, post Egghead Island Luffy as the height of known power, and rank the emperors either above or below him and gauge whether he would be able to beat them one-on-one, from the start till the end. If you like my video, like and subscribe to the page. I'll be making more videos in the future. If you don't like the video, continue as you were. I'll go in the order of their appearance and judge whether Luffy would be able to beat them right after my review on their strength, starting with Whitebeard, Edward Newgate, the man hailed as the strongest man, who was introduced in chapter 234 when a messenger from the Emperor's crew/fleet that I won't be looking at, Yonka red-haired Shanks, came with a message from his captain to Emperor Whitebeard, and the man with a bounty over 80 million berries was no different to an ant in the eyes of Whitebeard. We then got to get a glimpse of the Emperor's power when he clashed with Shanks and they split the sky, but at the time, we didn't know much about the power one had to have to be able to split the heavens, but what we knew at the time was that Luffy was way weaker than those two. Marineford came with a full-blown war between the Marines and the Whitebeard pirates, and Edward Newgate's power, as sick and close to death as he was on full display. With the might of the Marines and the Royal Shichibukai at the center awaiting them, Whitebeard appeared right at the center for the confrontation. By the time the war ended, he had been stabbed and slashed 267 times, shot with no less than 562 bullets, hit with 46 cannons, and this does not include every attack he dealt with. The battle started with Whitebeard summoning a tsunami which needed one of the admirals to stop it. The difference in power between the strongest man and the strongest swordsman was settled quickly when Dracula Mihawk launched the most powerful slash towards Whitebeard, but that attack was dealt with by the 3rd Squad Captain Diamond Jozu in his base form. So anyone thinking Mihawk is as strong as emperors can put that thought to rest, because Oda settled it a long time ago. Luffy clashed with Crocodile, but Crocodile isn't as strong as an emperor. The first critical blow to land came from one of his own, who was tricked by Akainu, to try and weaken him somehow before the fight starts so they can kill him easier. Even in that weakened state, he could still easily block an attack from a giant marine, rearrange the whole battlefield and launch a single serious punch through that giant towards the execution platform that needed all 3 admirals to stop it. Now I know some might believe that it didn't need all 3 admirals, but there is precedent that already exists. When that tsunami came, Akiji stepped up alone. When Jozu launched that iceberg, Akainu didn't need any help, so there's no reason to believe Oda made those 3 admirals suddenly jump in because he thought they were bored with sitting down. Whitebeard was not fazed by Akiji's attack. He could hold his own against Akainu until his sickness gave Akainu an opening he did not waste. Still, that didn't take him down. Not even Borsalino's attack took him down. He could still, with all those wounds, stop the Moby Dick from charging. After Akainu killed Ace, Whitebeard showed why emperors are emperors when he made quick of the admiral. Even with almost half his head completely burnt off, he took out an admiral, in his prime, out with 2 strikes, and Akainu wasn't seen until the end of the war, destroying the whole island in the process. Now some will say Whitebeard attacked from behind, but if we look back at the beginning of the war, an old and sick Whitebeard could take out a giant attacking from behind, but Sakazuki in his prime couldn't take out an old man totally wounded attacking from his blind spot. But this still was not the end of the emperor. Even in this state, with his face blown off, Blackbeard alone could not take him down. He was easily overpowered and he needed the rest of his crew to finish the job. When it was all done, the man died standing, without a single wound of retreat on his back. So is Luffy stronger than Whitebeard? Current Luffy, post-Egghead, is weaker than Whitebeard. When power scaling, we must remove how we feel about characters from the equation and look at facts. What Luffy did to Kizaru in Egghead is what a wounded Whitebeard did to Akainu with 2 strikes, 2 holes, stabbed through his chest, and half his face gone. Those 3 old men that were in that war are monsters. Makes you understand why Sengoku had to restrain Garp. if you think Garp couldn't get out from under Sengoku, then I don't know what show you're watching or manga you're reading. The next Yonko I'll be looking at is Charlotte Lin Lin of the Big Mom Pirates, who was introduced during the end of Fishman Island arc. We then got to see her in the Whole Cake Island arc, where she showed the difference between pirates and emperors. She introduced herself to us by killing one of her sons during her hunger tantrums. She demonstrated what a healthy Yonko looks like throughout the arc, starting with her fight against Brook, where none of his attack could scratch or pierce her skin. She had two surprising weaknesses that took her overwhelming advantage down, the first being her mind, if stressed, launches her straight into a frenzy that took down her defensive and invulnerability at the same time. The other was her devil fruit, the fact that she can't take the souls of people who aren't afraid of her, even if they're way weaker than her, but this takes nothing away from how monstrous she was. As a child she took out a seasoned veteran, hardened by battle, a giant, with one throw after destroying his blade with her bare arm, no haki. During the fight against the temporarily aligned fire tank and straw hat pirates, no one could harm her, Luffy's best couldn't scratch her. As terrifying as she was when she was sane, she was far worse during her hunger tantrum, less restrained and a much more destructive force. Her last hunger tantrum over her destroyed wedding cake lured her in pursuit of the Straw Hats, where she was no less than an indestructible demon that no one could stop. She could not be burnt, electrocuted, the ground could not hold her, and she was an agile old hag who could easily destroy the Sunny with a tiny potion of her physical strength. At first, it seemed as if she loses her mind and goes into a blind rage during her hunger tantrum, but Oda made sure to show us that she is still very sane, just going through extremely uncontrollable hunger cravings. Jinbei could only defend against her attack, and his most powerful attack only pushed her away from the Sunny. Throughout the entire Whole Cake arc, Big Mom sustained no injuries, she was not even scratched by another. The only time she sustained an injury was when a broken picture of Mother Carmel was shown to her. The psychological trauma and guilt is her one weakness, and knowing that she is sane during her hunger, she probably remembers that she ate Mother Carmel and all her friends. During the Wano arc, Queen the Plague, one of Kaido's all-star calamities, was no match for a Big Mom with amnesia, no haki, a child's mind and her raw physical power. Queen could only headbutt her memories back. The headbutt, along with getting her memories back, gave her a headache that put her to sleep. She slept because she knew she wasn't in any danger. She later clashed with Kaido, where they split the heavens and ended with no visible injuries to the two. During the raid on Onigashima, the Straw Hats still couldn't hurt Big Mom, they could only roll her out of the hall. Marco had no chance during his clash against Big Mom, and that was the Whitebeard Pirates' 1st Division commander. On the rooftop, it was 5 against 2, 3 captains and 2 first mates, all from the worst generation, and during that first bout, they didn't stand a chance, especially with both Big Mom and Kaido working together. All they could do was target Lin Lin's souls and push her off the roof to separate the two. Inside the castle, Lin Lin took out Page 1, one of the Flying Six, with one punch, and knocked out Ultai, another member of the Flying Six, with one attack. During the battle between the two worst generation captains and Big Mom, Kid and Law, she was able to tank every single one of Kid's physical attacks, with the only critically damaging attacks during the battle coming from when she was attacked by Law, which shows how invulnerable her skin is, but Law able to bypass her invulnerability and was able to break her ribs by attacking her with shockwaves from the inside. With mastery over one's devil fruit, a devil fruit user can use their devil fruit to temporarily heal themselves, as we saw with Doflamingo. Big Mom does the same thing, bringing her bones back by exchanging some of her life. Kid's awakened devil fruit ability does catch her unexpectedly and wore down her stamina. The last-ditch tag team attack between Eustace Captain Kid and Trafalgar D. Water Law of Puncture Will and Damned Punk did not kill her. It didn't knock her unconscious, but they did manage to send her to an underground pit of lava, which killed her and ensure that silenced her so she couldn't call out to her souls to come help her as she fell to her doom, which shows just how insanely strong emperors are. Is current Egghead Luffy stronger than Big Mom? If it's one-on-one, from the start till the finish, it could end in a stalemate in the right conditions. Luffy has incredible battle skill, but Big Mom's mastery over her devil fruit, which allows her to heal herself, endurance and Conqueror's Haki mastery gives her an edge. Luffy is strong, but he can't fight for a very long, and when the drawback of using Conqueror's Haki in Gear 5 kicks in, with no one there to help him recover, he would definitely die. The last emperor I'll be looking at is Kaido of the Beast Pirates, the emperor with the best introduction that perfectly sums him up. It explicitly states that if it's one-on-one, Kaido will win. That's what people say. On land, sea and air, he is a pirate known as the strongest creature among all living things. No one could kill him. He introduced himself with a suicide attempt by jumping off a sky island, 10,000 meters above ground, and all he got was a minor headache. We then see him destroying one of his underlings after learning about Joker's defeat. He then makes his grand appearance in the Wano arc with a one-shot win in his base form over Gear 4 bound man Luffy after being unharmed by multiple attacks like Elephant Gun, Elephant Gatling Gun, Kong Organ, and after all of that, he couldn't even scratch him. He later clashed with Big Mom, where they split the sky before dealing with the raid on Onigashima. He greeted the raid by slicing off Orochi's head before having to go up against the Red Scabbards. Individually, the Red Scabbards were nowhere close to Kaido's level, but they were not weak. These were characters capable of going up against one of the three calamities, Jack, and defeating him. 9 Jack-level threat individuals capable of stabbing Kaido, against one emperor. Even after being able to pierce his skin, despite being able to harm him, all 9 fell to his power. After that battle he proceeded to lifting the whole island, started transporting it inland, and every fight that follows, happened with a portion of his power reserved for purely keeping the island afloat and moving. Right after the fight against the Red Scabbards he went up against the Worst Generation alongside Big Mom. During the first round against the Worst Generation, he sustained damage, nothing life-threatening, but they managed to push him to use his hybrid form. Once in his hybrid form, the Worst Generation was defeated and scattered. After defeating Luffy twice on the rooftop, he faced off against his child Yamato, who is only second to Kaido in strength among the Beast Pirates and is stronger than both Zoro and Sanji. In the Wano arc, Yamato held his own and didn't fall in a fight to the death against his father, landing damaging blows during the fight before letting a recovered Luffy take over again. Before leaving the rooftop, Momonosuke left his mark on the Blue Dragon's hide. Kaido and Luffy continued their fight, and Kaido took him through the different phases of drunk fighting, eventually killing and defeating him for the third time during the raid. Gear 5 Luffy awakened from death and initiated round 4 against hybrid form Kaido, who was still carrying Onigashima to the mainland. After a long night, Flaming Drum Dragon fell to Gear 5 Luffy. So is post-Egghead Luffy stronger than Kaido? Definitely not. His strength after he awakened his Devil Fruit's power could go toe-to-toe with a Kaido who had been through multiple fights, while carrying a whole island. One-on-one from the beginning to the end, no island raising, Luffy would have died, come back to life, awakened and died again. Post-Egghead Luffy would still die because he can't lacks endurance and mastery of his Conqueror's Haki. His mastery of Conquerors still can't match that of the seasoned former emperors. Yes, he could hold his own against the Gorosei and an admiral, but the Gorosei don't bother with dodging or defending against attacks, and admirals, the current ones, are no match for the emperors, excluding Buggy. For now, we must also remember, none of the emperors were defeated in a one-on-one fight. Whitebeard was the strongest of the three. Through the whole war he was fighting, holding back until after Ace was killed. Big Mom was the weakest. She was her own enemy and didn't take the fight seriously until it was too late. Kaido was most in form of the three. His love for battle brought about his demise. Side note, Zoro Mihawk is Yonko commander level. That's why he and Crocodile are under Buggy. That is why he is Zoro's target, and admirals are weaker than emperors.